2026 has a lot of green flags for Pokemon, though to be honest, there's also a heap of red flags as well. And that's why in this video, I want to cover what we can actually expect for Pokemon cards in 2026, talk about the collecting aspect, along with the investing side of the TCG as well. I think there's a fair bit of discussion taking place across the board, and I've definitely noticed that there's a fair bit of people who are less confident this year. And I think one of the pressing issues is that, like, I'm seeing this come up, is that, you know, if a set isn't sold out straight away, or if it's not absolute mayhem on release day, people just automatically think it's trash. And one of the scary things when products are so heavily in demand, if they stop being in demand, people just get cold feet. I mean, it's like when the PS5 Pro released and everyone was like, oh, it's not sold out on day one. PS5 before the Pro, that sold out straight away. Oh, nah, it's a flop, it's trash. And that's not actually the case at all. And that's why I'm actually hoping that that mentality changes, because having products available is actually a good thing. Though in terms of what we can expect this year, I am seeing a lot of questions like, oh, if the massive fan base from last year all left, won't that mean that Pokemon just overprinted too many cards? Or, you know, will all these new chase cards that released be worthless because it was all a hype period? And the questions just keep rolling in. And that's why one of the first areas that I think we can expect from 2026 is that the Pokemon collector demand will spread across different categories more than just trading cards. Obviously, the big one for 2026 is the Lego sets, and they've had a lot of hype and a little bit of controversy as well around the price points and availability and who they were marketed to and all that. But you know, there is a big market around the Pokemon Legos. Though I am expecting that Pokemon collector to actually start expanding outside of the TCG. I do think trading cards will be the dominant area for collectibles, but I don't think we can write off Lego, and that new market will be entering, and more creators are going to be speaking about it. More people will be wanting to add these to their collections, and I do think for 2026, we will see that collector for Pokemon starts spreading out a little bit. It won't be just so isolated to trading cards, and I do think that lane of Lego is going to be huge. And if you wanted to start creating content, you've got an opportunity now with Pokemon Lego, because if this is just the start of this, and this is just the new version where people are going to just be starting to collect this Lego, well, guess what? A whole new market opens up for content where people can speak about it, people can watch it. So it is an interesting thing, and I think 2026 is definitely going to be the year that we need to focus on that, because that new Lego arm of Pokemon is going to grow, and I imagine it's going to be a very strong point in 2026. But I mean, even in 2027, this is just the start. We've only seen the start of this whole new Lego collaboration, and if we look at any other franchises and how well they've connected Lego, like as a part of like an extension from their franchise for the collectible side, for everything, there is a very strong future for this Lego set side. And honestly though, I will be looking at it and I will be interested to see how it goes throughout the year, because I think there's going to be a lot of people who love these sets. Though another area for 2026 that I'm expecting is that there will be another hype wave to come around. Obviously we came out from a massive one. Now the massive hype wave, that the reason why it even existed last year was because of Pokemon TCG Pocket. That really caused a lot of demand. We really don't have any kind of monumental thing like Pokemon TCG Pocket that's going to be coming this year that we know of so far. However, we do have the 30th anniversary, and that I do imagine will bring a lot of people in, and I will speak about the 30th anniversary a bit more in this video. Though that hype wave, it's kind of cyclical how Pokemon cards work. Though in 2026, I do imagine there will be a lot of hype, because there's a lot of things happening with Pokemon, whether we're looking at the Pokemon media, wherever we're looking, Pokemon has more things, and the trading cards are obviously going to be, they're one of the core fundamentals where people collect. It's a pillar of collecting, and the amount of cards that get released, the amount of new chase cards that are coming out, there's always new topics, always new hype waves that come around. It is very exciting, but I do imagine that there is going to be another period throughout this year, and when that kind of strikes, I will be speaking about that a little bit later on, but that is going to happen, and I'm very confident, just because if we look at every year, we have had massive hype waves come around with a lot of people entering the hobby, a lot of people getting excited, and it is something to actually be monitoring throughout this year. Now, also, while speaking about Pokemon cards, if you do want to buy Pokemon cards at community-driven prices, then that does bring me to today's video sponsor, Misprint. So Misprint is a US-based website where you can buy Pokemon cards, slab sealed product, all at community-driven prices. Misprint really shines with its dual buy now and and sell now system. So how this works, as a buyer, you can actually set the price that you're comfortable paying for an item. Now, if the market ever does drop to that price, the deal happens automatically. Though as a seller, it's a super useful tool as well, because one of the issues with selling Pokemon cards is that it can take a bit of time to sell. Though if there is a preset offer that you're happy with, then you can take that offer and a deal happens. Misprint has really been growing lately with their huge library of singles, sealed product, and slabs. And what's really cool is that they also have an app. One of the handy features on the app is that you can actually take your phone's camera and scan as many PSA slabs you can fit, and it will show you all the current market prices for those slabs. Now, if you do want to try Misprint out, feel free to use my referral code to get $5 off your first purchase. Once again, a massive thank you to Misprint for continuously supporting the channel. Now let's jump back into the video. But another thing that we can expect for 2026 is that the 30th anniversary will cause a serious shakeup in the hobby. Pokemon, for all things, is considered a very young franchise when you think about it, because just look at Pokemon. The fact that it's a 30th anniversary and the levels that Pokemon has gotten to, it's huge. I mean, it's past some of the biggest franchises in the world. Now, the 30th anniversary has been hyped for such a long time, and people are obviously expecting massive things from Pokemon's 30th. I mean, I first heard of the 30th anniversary. The hype was already building like late 2023, early 2024, and since then the hype has just grown, and now we're in that year, so there's a lot of expectations. But I really am expecting for such a big celebration, the collectible space is really gonna feel that, and things are really gonna change. One thing that people sometimes miss, and it always directly affects trading cards as well, and this is something that, especially if you invest in collectibles or if you love collecting them, you do need to keep an eye on this. If Pokemon grows, and what I mean by that is more Pokemon video games come out, more apps come out, then more nostalgia sets in and more media releases happen, the TCG is directly impacted with more products coming out, more people interested in the TCG, and it starts broadening that kind of whole market. But in terms of the investing side, I do think for the 30th anniversary, there's a strong chance as well that the 25th anniversary celebration set will get a bit of eyes on it, because people will begin recirculating. But I can already see that as soon as the 30th anniversary releases, people are gonna look back at celebrations and go, oh wow, what was the 25th anniversary set? Oh yeah, celebrations. I wonder how that's doing now, and hype will start building for that. That is just one of the things I can see playing out, because it's one thing about Pokemon in particular is that it really recirculates a lot. And if you played Pokemon Red and Blue in the 90s, then you got Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green in 2004. Same thing if you were playing the Pokemon Gold Silver, you had Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I mean, even with the Pokemon Legends games, we got reintroduced to Sinnoh with Legends Arceus, and of course, we also got reintroduced to the Kalos region with Pokemon Legends EA, and that recirculation and always kind of pulling in that market back into the franchise is a real good tactic that Pokemon does, and it's really smart as well, because every person that grew up with Pokemon, like they always say that your favorite generation is the generation you started on. So if you were playing and you were like a 8, 9, 10 years old when Generation 4 came out, and then they pulled you back into the franchise with Legends Arceus because it was like a revamped Sinnoh region. They always are doing that. So you can expect that, you know, kids that were playing Sword and Shield in a few years, or maybe 5, 10 years down the track, there's gonna be something that pulls you back into a Sword and Shield game or the Galar region. And that's just how Pokemon usually do things. And it is something to keep in mind. And that's why I am expecting a massive nostalgia throwback set to release this year. And if a nostalgia throwback set releases, expect it to be very hard to get and very sought after. Nostalgia throwbacks happen every so often, but they've become increasingly more popular. Obviously, Celebrations had the classic Pokemon cards revisited, but then we had in 2023 Pokemon 151, which was pretty much a modern base set. And then of course in 2025 we had Destined Rivals with the massive connection to Team Rocket, and even Black Bot White Flare played on the nostalgia with Generation 5, whether it be Generation 2, which honestly would be a great idea, because I can't remember the last time Generation 2 got a lot of love, because Pokemon just love to do that recirculating or pulling back people that kind of maybe got a little bit disengaged with Pokemon, and then they kind of draw them back in with something that's memorable to them and nostalgic for them. And Generation 2 for me is the standout. For some reason, I really feel a Generation 2 set similar to Black Bolt White Flare, similar to Pokemon 151 would be huge. And I wouldn't be surprised as well if Pokemon actually started having that as a theme where there's a set that's purely focused on one particular generation. Obviously with 151, it was the original 151, but then Black Bolt White Flare did something even crazier, where you had an illustration rare or a special illustration rare of every single Pokemon in the Unova region. That was a massive set, and I think that idea is really cool, and I think that they could have a lot of sets released like that, whether it be a Generation 3 set, Generation 4, Gen 7, you could really play on that, and that would really open up the market as well, and I think a lot of people would love those sets. Now also, I just want to say, if you have been enjoying the video, my name's Phil, and I cover a lot of topics about Pokemon cards and collectibles. If you do like topics like these and you like to be kept up to date, definitely feel free to subscribe. It's always awesome seeing new people on the channel. But another area to expect is for Pokemon to actually start having some serious competition in 2026. And the competition will ramp up. Obviously, One Piece, we all know that. One Piece is becoming a very strong TCG. It's like even the investing side of One Piece. I mean, I'm not like investing in it myself because I don't have that much of a connection to it, but I can see from like when I see the prices and when I'm seeing things from the outside, wow, it's really growing. But then you got Dragon Ball as well. Dragon Ball in 2026, with the return of the Super Anime, Dragon Ball cards have been really in demand as well. But then even when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! And they're introducing Overframe cards, which is Yu-Gi-Oh's own version of full art cards. These things are all happening this year. And I do feel that a lot of TCGs just looked on the sidelines, especially throughout 2024 and 2025. Everyone just kind of took a back seat, looked at Pokemon, saw Pokemon growing exponentially, saw them dominating the market, and now a lot of competitors are saying, hey, we want a piece of this pie. And guess what? There is a massive pie and there is a lot to share around. Obviously, Pokemon has a massive fan base and they're probably never going to be able to take that away fully, and I don't ever expect them to do that, any other competitor. But what I mean by that is a lot of people who collect TCGs, it's not just one-way traffic. People like to explore different things. It's like video games. It's so rare that someone just likes one franchise of a video game. Usually they like, you know, playing a few of them. Same thing with TCGs. I feel like Pokemon was that kind of entry point, and now people do want to expand. They want to check out One Piece. They want to check out Dragon Ball. They might be revisiting Yu-Gi-Oh! And I do expect in 2026, expect throughout this year that you will see other TCGs really start dominating the market. It's already started in early 2026, but I'm very confident by the end of this year, we're going to be looking at other TCGs that really have set a footprint in the TCG space, and it's going to be really interesting as well. But I think there's more positives than negatives coming for Pokemon in 2026. However, there has been a change I've noticed, and one thing for Pokemon I've noticed is the quality of their video games versus the cards. It does seem that Pokemon cards continue to deliver high quality, but lately the reception of the video games has been met with a lot of harsh criticism, and Legends EA did experience that, especially early days of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And if you do want to see my breakdown of that kind of difference in quality, I do speak about that in this video right here. Within this video, I talk about all the things that Pokemon have done right within the TCG, but how when they kind of move on into the video games, it doesn't click the same way. If you're interested in that topic, I recommend you click that video on screen. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next video.